Prior to joining the police, I was in the army, and I served in Northern Ireland. And during that period, Northern Ireland is one incident that sticks out in my mind most. And that was the death of one of our lads, Danny. Danny was killed by a sniper whilst on patrol. I was aware that the 20th anniversary of his death was approaching, by which time I'm now a serving police officer, and have been in the police at least 10 years, I think, by that time. It was just playing on my mind more and more. I was having bad dreams about various things, and started to get a short fuse, develop a short fuse. Almost zero tolerance of people. Caused problems at home because my temper was getting out of hand. I didn't speak to my supervisors about it at the time. Initially, because, as I said, I didn't know who do you speak to about these things. The police service in general is not a very caring organisation, despite the public face it likes to provide. And I'm probably not going to win any friends by saying this. It's not that they don't care enough, it's that they don't care at all. I didn't consider approaching the Police Federation for help, purely because I didn't think that was the kind of thing that they were into. I would rather speak to people that I feel safe talking to and know that I'll get pointed in the right direction. I spoke to some of my friends, some of them were having issues with PTSD as well, but were receiving treatment for it. And so they pointed me in the direction of combat stress. When I was given the dates for the 6-week programme, I was still off sick. However, my sickness ran out whilst I was at Tirett House, and the job wouldn't give me the time off to finish the course. So I had to take the rest of it as annual leave so that I could complete the treatment programme at Tirett House. The staff at Combat Stress said that my treatment by the police had made my condition far worse than it needed to be because of the way they treated me.
I've been through a psychiatrist. I've been diagnosed with unstable personality disorder, bipolar, OCD, anxiety, depression, and every day is a struggle. Throughout all of this, in between the first bout of postnatal and the pregnancy with my second son, I did manage to return to work on the restricted hours. Not feeling in the right frame of mind whilst dealing with all that, to be then expected to continue doing your job as normal is not impossible. But the understanding didn't seem to be there. It almost felt like the only restrictions they saw were my hours. Almost felt like whilst I was doing my job, I had a paranoia that I was seen to be acting normal. She's okay, she's taking calls, she's coping fine. There's no problem. When in actual fact, it was probably completely the opposite. So I applied for ill health retirement. Our forced occupational health doctor supported it. And the senior medical practitioner refused ill health retirement. At which point I felt the only light at the end of my tunnel had just been taken away. And unfortunately, I went downstairs and I attempted to take my life right there in the building. I then had a report written by the senior medical practitioner almost describing my actions as a petulant child. I hoped there would be a little bit more understanding because it was all to do with mental health. I was treading a fine line. I'm still treading a fine line. And I just thought there'd be a bit more compassion.
I just saw this blue car come round the corner. It was about 200 yards away from me, and he just floored it and hit me. And he took the front end off my car. A few months later, I was called into the inspector's office, and he served me a Reg 13 for criminal investigation in relation to the incident in my driving. I think it was a complaint from the person who rammed into me. And that night when I finished work about 10 o'clock, I ended up driving straight to a reservoir. And I was actually there for a couple of hours, and I was very, very close to driving in. The following day, I got an emergency appointment to see my doctor. He was quite concerned about what had happened and put me onto high dosage antidepressants and signed me off for 6 weeks. Then at the end of October 2011, I was back onto full duties, driving into work, and I was parked in queuing traffic, and a 4.5 ton recovery truck drove straight into the back of me. It was just suddenly too much for me. I was off work on that occasion only a few days, but that was my downward spiral where I really did start having issues. I was becoming hypervigilant, I was paranoid, I was starting to be rude to colleagues. In hindsight, yes, I was in a mess. And all the time this was going on, I never actually thought of going to the Federation for help, which is really bad that if, as a federated rep, I can't think of the Federation, then I don't think our members think of the Federation. I did have instances where I'd be driving to work thinking, that's a big oncoming truck. I wonder what if. It is so insidious the way mental health grinds at you and winds and just wears you down and breaks you down. Organisationally, there's been absolutely no support. They don't recognise mental health. As soon as you say you've got a mental health issue, it's almost we don't believe you, you've got to go above and beyond to prove what's happening. Until the organisation takes mental health seriously, we're going to have a lot of officers who've got issues who don't come out as having a mental health issue and who'll keep doing the job they're doing, putting themselves and their colleagues at risk because the job won't see it.
I was following a stolen motor vehicle, made a stop on the vehicle. Or so I thought. As I got out the vehicle, he went to drive off, and I tried to stop the vehicle by opening the door and trying to take the keys out of the ignition. And as I bent in, he rammed the car into reverse, and I was stuck between the car and the apex of the door. He knew I was there. He knew I was there. It's like a volcano going off. You have lots of incidents and stuff over the years, and it builds up, and then the volcano bursts. I sat on the settee, and I just started crying. I just started crying, and Carla said, What's wrong? And I said, I just can't do this anymore. That was the start of my journey, the new journey, the journey to hell. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I got my coat on, left the house. I said goodbye to my dogs. And I went down to the seafront, and I walked along the seafront. And I was just going to walk in the water, fully clothed. Because being an ex-serviceman, I knew that the weight of the clothes would just take me under, and that'd be it. I'd be gone. Carla found me. She came out and she found me. And then we decided to seek help from veterans agencies because it was pretty obvious nothing was coming forward from, well, I call it welfare, occupational health. There was just nothing was happening. It was just stagnating, really. If anyone had bothered to visit me at home, which they didn't, from the investigation team, no one came. Do you know, not even Socko came out and photograph my injuries because it was a done and dusted job. It made me feel undervalued. It made me feel as if they didn't believe me. People need to realise that I've got an injury you can't see, and I'd still believe that people who have injuries, physical injuries that they can see, are treated differently to the people with a mental disability.